The purpose of this video is to teach you how to say things like I am busy and things like I am not busy. If you want to say I am busy, you would say 私は忙しいです。私は means I. 忙しい means busy, and this means am. If you want to say I am not busy, you would say 私は忙しくないです。私は again means I. 忙しく means busy, ない means not, and this means am. I'm sure that you observed that the adjective took a different form, and that's exactly the purpose of this video, to help you have this aspect straight, because yes, adjectives do take a different form depending as to whether it's a negation or an affirmation. I'm sure you know that there are two types of adjectives in Japanese language, the ones that end in a hiragana I and the ones that do not end in the hiragana I. When it comes to the first category, busy is a good example. In Japanese, busy would be isogashi. As you could see in our example, isogashi became isogashiku. When it comes to the second category, skilled is a good example. In Japanese, you would say jouzu. If you want to use it in a negation, jouzu would become jouzu dewa. Mechanic-wise, for the second category, you do the following. You take the adjective, add dewa, and add nai desu. When it comes to the first category, you do the following. You take the adjective, cut the last i, add ku, and add nai desu. So if you want to say is not busy, you would say isogashiku nai desu. If you want to say is not skilled, you would say jouzu de wa nai desu. Now that we have the concepts clear, let's reinforce them while doing some practice together. The way we will do some practice is by you helping me fill out this table. In this table, I prepared to you a set of vocabulary which we will first translate into Japanese, then we will use them in an affirmation, and then in a negation. Before we start the practice, let me recap the important patterns that I want you to follow when it comes to an affirmation and a negation. As you know very well, there are two types of adjectives in Japanese language, the ones that end in a hiragana I and the ones that do not end in the hiragana I. When it comes to affirmations, you don't need to worry about this classification, because both types of adjectives behave in the very same way. What you do is the following. You take the adjective and add des. Simple as that. When it comes to negations, however, you do need to consider the classification because adjectives behave in a different manner. When it comes to the first category, you do the following. You take the adjective, cut the last i, add ku, and add nai desu. When it comes to the second category, you do the following. You take the adjective, add dewa, and add nai desu. Now that we have these in front of us, let's go ahead and reinforce them. First question, how do you say embarrassed in Japanese? In Japanese it would be hazukashi. And how do you say is embarrassed? In Japanese it would be hazukashi desu, right? And how do you say is not embarrassed? Is there a hiragana I at the end? Is there one? Definitely yes. That means that it would become hazukashiku nai desu, right? Great, let's see the next one. How do you say complicated? In Japanese it would be fukuzatsu. So how do you say is complicated? It would be fukuzatsu desu, right? And how do you say is not complicated? Is there a hiragana I at the end? I see none. That means that it would become fukuzatsu de wa nai desu, right? Great, let's see the next one. How do you say rare? In Japanese it would be mezurashi. And how do you say is rare? It would become mezurashi desu, right? And how do you say is not rare? Is there a hiragana I at the end? Is there one? Definitely yes. That means that it would become mezurashiku nai desu, right? Great. Let's see the next one. How do you say inconvenient? It would be fuben. So how do you say is inconvenient? It would be fuben desu. And how do you say is not inconvenient? Is there a hiragana I at the end? Is there one? I see none. That means that it would become fuben de wa nai desu, right? Great. Let's see the next one. How do you say shallow? It would be asai. So how do you say is shallow? It would be asai desu, right? And how do you say is not shallow? Is there a hiragana I at the end? Is there one? Definitely yes. That means that it would become asaku nai desu, right? Excellent. Let's see the next ones. How do you say bitter? It would be nigai. So how do you say is bitter? It would be nigai desu. And how do you say is not bitter? Is there a hiragana I at the end? Is there one? Definitely yes. That means that it would become nigaku nai desu, right? Great. Let's see the next one. How do you say important? In Japanese it would be daiji. So how do you say is important? It would be daiji desu, right? And how do you say is not important? Is there a hiragana I at the end? Is there one? I see none. That means that it would become daiji de wa nai desu, right? Great. Let's see the next one. How do you say sleepy? In Japanese you would say nemui. So how do you say is sleepy? It would be nemui desu, right? And how do you say is not sleepy? Is there a hiragana I at the end? Is there one? Definitely yes. That means that it would become nemuku nai desu, right? Great. Let's see the next one. How do you say impossible? In Japanese you would say muri. So how do you say is impossible? It would be muri desu, right? And how do you say is not impossible? Is there a hiragana I at the end? Is there one? I see none. That means that it would become muri de wa nai desu, right? Excellent. Let's see the next one. How do you say beautiful? In Japanese you would say kirei. This is one of my favorites and you will understand very soon why. So how do you say is beautiful? It would be kirei desu. How do you say is not beautiful? Now the question, is there a hiragana I at the end? And the answer is yes, right? However, this is one of the rare cases where this classification rule doesn't work. Because even if it has that hiragana I at the end, it would not behave like an adjective that has a hiragana I at the end. It would behave like an adjective that doesn't have a hiragana I at the end. So it would become kirei de wa nai desu. Now you may reasonably ask me, like, what's the deal with this kirei? Why doesn't it fit into this neat little structure that I presented to you so far? And the answer is that kirei is one of those rare exceptions where this rule doesn't work. And my word to you is that if you're a beginner, I suggest you not bother with it too much, because if you're a beginner, simplicity is more important than 100% accuracy. So as a beginner, it's totally fine if you don't have this aspect straight. However, if you're a nerd and you really want to understand this, then I strongly encourage you to check out my video where I cover specifically these exceptions. You can find this video here. Alright everyone, that wraps up my lesson. Thank you very much for your attention and I hope to see you in my next lessons. Have a great day.